There we go. It worked. I had something that I've never had happen. We're traveling on the road. As you guys can see, I'm chilling in my Airbnb, and it said, can't go live. But here we are. So I broke the internet. Whoops. Didn't mean to. Welcome back for those of you guys who are repeat addicts over here at our agency owners Q&A. And for those of you guys who are new, my name's Frankie Finn. I'm answering your agency questions. Built 3 of my own agencies up to 100 plus clients, doing this 20 plus years. Written two best-selling books, and I'm clearly a handsome degenerate. Anyways, a quick little announcement just before we get rocking and rolling that I am going to be at some point over the next couple of weeks doing a free training. I want to show you guys how to get clients without like the old cold outreach. Everybody in the fucking world says you got to do cold outreach. You got to be spamming people in the inbox. And the problem with that is that's what everybody else is doing. And it gets real crowded and real noisy and real challenging to stand out. So I want to show you guys some ways where you can go get the business without having to do all the shit that everybody else says you're going to do. So I'm making a library of like literally everything I know that works that isn't just spamming strangers. And then you can, plug and play whatever works with your sort of style and personality. So I can't tell you exactly when that'll be, but I'm working on it now. So next couple of weeks, it'll be ready and live, and you guys can go party with that. In the meantime, I see Collins here. What's up, dude? In the meantime, let's do my cheesy intro. I need a swig of water for my cheesy intro. By the way, I'm in Miami right now. For those of you guys who are regulars around here, it's a travel adventure. By the way, because of that, I won't have a Q&A next week because I have a flying day returning back to La Paz in Mexico. I'll be going from Boise to LAX and LAX to La Paz. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. With the man they call the man, the greatest of all time, His Holiness, the Lord of the Dad Guns, 170 pounds of pure steel and sex appeal. It's me. All right. Enough shenanigans. Let's get into your questions. Let's start at the top. John says, would love a gut check on this before I take it out. Framing it the way this group thinks about offers. Who it's for. High ticket course and coaching sellers with a bank catalog and a sales team. The offer, stop your closers from working leads blind. I show you exactly which of your existing customers are about to buy again and the precise program to put in front of each one. So every call your team makes is to someone already warm with the right offer, pulled from the data you're already sitting on. The hand raiser, how much of your closers' time goes to working leads they know nothing about, calling people who aren't ready, pitching everyone the same program. Your platform already knows who's about to buy next and what they buy. Almost nobody reads it. Building something that fixes it. Want to see if this is a real problem for you all. The service. I connect their course platform to their sales process and use their consumption and purchase data to surface two things they can't see manually. One, which customers are signaling they're ready for the next purchase, and the exact program to pitch each. Two of which are their older forgotten courses are secretly the perfect upsell for a segment content they've already made and paid for, what they're not putting in front of the right people. The coffee date, I take a quick look at their setup and tell them straight whether their data can even do this. If it can, we talk about the build, no charge to look. I'm wondering, does a free data look work as the coffee date, or is there a stronger first step? And does this the hidden upsells in your old catalog angle land harder than the who's ready to buy angle, or am I overrating it? All right, my man, John, that is a lot to process. And firstly, one of the hard things I think about like offers is a lot of times an offer is really synonymous with a promise, and your promise can often like sometimes your thing can do like 20 different things. So like we got a lot of people, for example, that do websites. Sometimes websites can help with like the tire kickers, like that problem. Sometimes websites can help with getting certain types of people to call you, like less brokies, more peeps with money. Websites can pre-sell so that your salespeople don't have to do as much, right? So like if you got salespeople and they're not good at closing, make your website do the selling, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can position a website. The reason I say that, in my sort of estimation, you're sort of positioning this wrong. You're hyped up about the salespeople and their level of awareness with clients. And I'll tell you why. I just don't think that's a problem most of them think they have. It may be true what you're saying, but what you can do is really simple. Is like, you've got hidden money sitting in the form of, as soon as somebody finishes your materials, that should automatically trigger a new sales conversation to sell them the next thing, and I can make that automatic for you. That's like the gist of your promise. Basically, is like, when they bought the thing and they finished the thing, I can help you get them at the exact point they're the warmest to go sell them the next thing, and notify your salespeople. So instead of some random stranger, that you're talking to that knows nothing about you, you're talking to people who've like finished your stuff. Having said that, it sounds like a cool thing. It sounds like found money. If it was me, by the way, I'd be taking a commission of every sale. I wouldn't even try and charge money. And yes, a free audit of like, hey, let me tell you if your system can even do this, is probably a good starting place. Although, what will help you, instead of wasting time on calls with peeps, I would start with, hey, this will work if you got Entreport, Teachable, like whatever, like systems you can integrate with. And then instead of just talking to anyone and everyone, I would focus on the people that already have the systems you need in place to be able to do it. Having said that, I mean, the idea sounds cool. I never know for sure until you put it out there. And it sounds like you want to deal with the coaches and consultants who have like traction already, not the there's a lot, especially in the coaching world, there's a lot of people that are more dreamers than doers. I met like 20-year-old life coaches that like don't have any clients. Like, that's obviously not who it's for. You want people who have some volume and some flow and some traction. So I'd start there. But I like the idea. I think you're onto something. Paul says, does anyone use AI tools to create proposal docs? Which is your favorite? Okay. So I want to caution you about this, Paul, just because a lot of people automate shit that doesn't work. And there's nothing worse that you want to do in the old biz than automate some shit that shouldn't exist in the first place. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, I think there's two levels to this: is automating proposals that work, not just automating proposals that work, is a key detail. And then secondly, let's talk about the detail. Like, I don't think you should be sending proposals, and I think you should do stuff to get rid of them, and eliminate them out of your machine. Okay, so let's talk about what goes into a proposal. And I think they're the same 5 things that should be in your expectations. What result do you think you can get? How long do you think it will take to get there? Cost? How much money is it going to cost us to get there? Communication? How much do we need to talk to each other to make that happen? What I need from you as the client to make that happen. So what a lot of people do is proposals, like they write these long as fuck, boring as fuck, scope of work, section number 1, section number 2. And I'll tell you, nothing will get you ghosted harder than sending long ass proposals to busy business owners, where you give them a lot to think about. And if you give them a lot to think about, they'll put it off. In fact, there's nothing worse than when you're messaging people and they're like, dude, I haven't looked at your proposal yet. Maybe next week. Let's circle back. Let's circle back. Let's circle back. That's what happens with most proposals. So don't automate that. I'll tell you what actually worked the best for us is just a little, again, 1-minute video, not even a 5-minute video, like you've already discussed what you're going to do together. Here's what I think I can do for you. Here's how long I think it'll take. Here's how much money we're going to have to spend to do it. Here's how much we're going to check in with each other. And this is what I need from you for this thing to work. If that sounds like you're interested in, let's do this. And I'll get started on A, B, and C. And that's the whole fucking proposal video, 1 minute. And I tell them it's a video proposal, but it's really just a summary of all the shit we talked about. Having said that, proposals, just so you know, are a symptom of, I'm not fully sold on your offer. Send me more info. And so if you want to really address the proposal at the root cause, figure out how to make your promise where they stop asking for proposals. So for me, for example, when I first started my first agency and we sold a lot of SEO, like I would get peeps who would come to me and say, hey, we're interested in this SEO. Can you send me a proposal? And I'd have to follow up with them 17 times to close them. Eventually, so I would get some of them across the finish line, but it was a lot of work. And one day I was sitting in the office of a plastic surgeon. And he said, Frankie, I make the most money on mommy makeovers. I really want to get mommy makeover patients. Is there any way you could build me a website for that? And I said, of course, as long as you got pictures for it. And then he said, do you think people search it? And I pulled up the Google keyword tool and I was like, yeah, they search it. And he said, do you think you could help me like rank for this? And I was like, yeah, it's even easier than the shit you're going for. And he went, here's my credit card. And what's key in that scenario, and I still remember it, is there was no proposal. There was no, let's circle back on this. There was no, like, let's talk about it. It was just like, here's my credit card. Charge me whatever you need to charge me and build me that. And so when you have a winning offer, people will way less ask you for proposals and things like that. So you want to really like think about a proposal as if they're asking you for info and they're sort of unsold and they want more info. You want to think about like, how can I modify my promise to be the thing they want? And the easiest way I've found to really dial that in is just to ask them, who do you most want to sell? Right. So like they typically have different customers, clients, patients, or jobs, and they don't value them all equally. So it's like, let's find out the ones they value the most and focus on, I'm going to bring you those people. And it tends to immediately get more valuable for them. So yes, there are probably tools that automate proposal docs, but I bet you most of them won't get you closer to sales, because be careful what you automate. Having said that, I mean, there's more than one way to be right about this. So I'm just sharing what's worked for us. Jerome, it's our French Jerome. So Jerome said, helping a mate with his agency stuff. And here's the idea. Instead of going one-to-one by to each professional of the BTP industry in France, I want to reach out to the businesses that sell to those pros, like the window supplier, like the aluminum supplier. And I want to offer them to license and sell my system that helps those same pros not have leads go through the cracks, follow up with them even when they're busy, and by using the system to sign a few more projects each month or year. My thinking would be have a setup fee of around 899 euros, have a monthly fee to access the system for 349 or 449. I'll share some of the money with the businesses who send me referrals. What do you guys think? So, you know, figuring out the pricing part of it, I think, is the actual least important detail in there, because if you don't get people to say yes, like, speculating on what you should charge is kind of irrelevant. So I'll tell you, because we do a lot of stuff with partnerships. When partners share your system and promote your system and introduce your thing, it is very rarely for a financial incentive. And it is almost always because that thing helps them do the thing they're trying to do. So let me give you an example for this. Okay. So we have Rochelle in our mastermind. She works in the roofing industry, and she's in Texas, where there's a lot of roofing suppliers, right? So any roofer who's doing any volume, where do they go when they have a lot of fulfillment? They go to the damn roofing supplier and they buy a lot of shingles, right? So she wants to get in front of the big buyers. So she's offered to do an in-store training for these people, and she's done like, I don't know, half dozen of these already. So she does an in-store training. Now, key detail in there, okay, is not they're going to go share Rochelle's system. Is the in-store training is about how to sell and get or make or sell more shingles, how to get more roofing jobs. Why does that matter? Because it helps the roofing supplier to sell their thing. That's why they're doing it. Not because it's $8.99 with a $4.99 setup fee and all that. They don't care about the system. So you have to figure out that detail first. Is how can I make my thing serve their agenda? It has to serve their agenda. If you do that, I mean, you can charge almost whatever you want, and they'll happily pay you to access and rent your system. So in your case, you mentioned like window suppliers. Well, they want to sell windows. So how can you make it so that your system helps them sell more windows? If you do that, they'll do whatever the fuck you want, really, and they'll be open to terms. And also, what you'll find is that these are negotiations, not set prices. So one person may be like, well, I don't really want to pay a setup fee, but can I pay you $1,000 every time someone uses it? And another person will be like, I don't really want to pay an ongoing thing. Can I just give you 10 grand to license the system now? And like, it's all a negotiation. And I look at it like, if you're renting access to a system, if you're renting access to intellectual property, it's all good money. As an example of this, I wrote about this in my second book, but Elvis made $100 million last year, despite the notable handicap of fucking being dead. Why? Because he's renting access to his songs and his intellectual property. So whether they charge him 5 grand or 10 grand or $500,000 to use his songs, it's all bonus money because he doesn't have to recreate anything. So you're going to find that the pricing you come up with in your head will change once you start talking to them anyway. But the basic idea of sell to what I would call the shoe stores, the people who are connected to everybody in your industry, like that's a proven concept. And in my mind, you should do more of that. Cool. I'm just going to catch up in the chat here. Costco membership 4617. That's a pretty serious username. Welcome back. Hey, Frankie, I just started a YouTube channel about SEO for law firms, currently doing daily audits. The goal of the channel is to get inbound leads. Are audits the best content for that? I decided on audits since I can do those daily without coming up with new video ideas that haven't been covered by other channels already. Yes, with a but. So what I was going to say with the but is, so there's more than one way to convert with content, but I'll tell you the biggest reason most people, so in your case, like a YouTube channel is a form of content. The biggest reason most people don't convert with content is they just give up on it too soon. Like literally just give up on it too soon. So what happens typically with content is you'll publish on your YouTube channel for like 30 days and literally nothing will happen. Nobody will buy. You won't have a single inbound lead. And almost everybody gives up in that phase. And it's kind of like American football, where what really happened is somebody who's never heard of you is basically on the 1 yard line, 99 yards away from the end zone. And a couple of people will start watching your videos and they'll move up like 30 yards up the field. But you don't make any money and you don't get any points for people moving up 30 yards up the field. So almost everybody gives up and says nothing's happening. In reality, you're actually closer to the end zone when you started. If you stay at it for like 3 to 6 months, then you'll start getting some inbound, but it's usually like still not even worth it at that point. But you'll start to see trickles of it. You're like, it's kind of working. And then 6 to 12 months is when it actually starts working. And 12 months plus is when you're like, oh my God, I wish I would have done this years ago, because you'll have what I call endless inbound. If you do it long enough, you'll have endless inbound. So I like the general idea. What I would do is just like talking in the video, I would compare SEO to what they're doing now. So I have a content framework. It's actually worked on many of you guys. Many of you guys have been my customer because of it. I call it old plan versus new plan. And I go, old plan, I describe what the person is doing now to generate business. And then I go, here's why that sucks. And I go, here's a new and better way. And here's how the new plan works. So in your case, old plan is what the law firm is doing now, being overly dependent on referrals and maybe running TV and radio and billboard spots and things like that are really expensive. And then you say, here's why they suck. It's really expensive. It's really inconsistent. Like there's a lot of downsides to doing it that way. SEO, you get people from Google. Those are the best cases when they find you. And then you describe, here's why it's better. And in that new plan is where you do the audits. But the reason why this matters is people buy emotionally. And most agencies get this wrong. They think people are buying future gain. So SEO is the ultimate future gain, right? Like in 12 months from now, you're going to have a ton of leads, right? Well, that don't do anything for me today. And when you describe the old plan of what they're doing now, you hit on the pain of today, being overly dependent on referrals, how expensive TV is. There's so much competition, radio, Google ads are expensive as fuck, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would just incorporate those into your audits. It's like, describe what they're doing now and why that sucks. And here's a better way. And let me show you an audit, how you can actually do this. Paul, Mr. Cyber Monday says, I send proposals to my high ticket prospects. Some are $1 billion plus. I now send one-page AI proposals. Yeah, totally. Does the shoe store method work for AI micro tools? Indeed, it does. So Shoe stores is not really a method per se. It's just the idea. Like, if you guys really understand the principle, you won't look at stuff as a method. Method is like tactic, strategy. These things come and go. But the idea is simple: is if you can spend your day pursuing sales or pursuing distribution being where the audience is, where the eyeballs are, you should spend your day pursuing distribution. So, for example, if um, um, if I go and try and like, the example I wrote about this in my second book. So I'll give you a story. There's two farmers, Andy and Bob. Andy pursues sales directly, so he's trying to sell eggs. He's an egg farmer, and he goes door to door and he goes farm fresh eggs, 2 for 1. Um, you know, um, organic, $8.99. Who wants some eggs, right? If he does that long enough, he's going to sell some eggs. Bob believes, as Frankie Finn does, is go where the audience is, find the distribution. So he goes to Whole Foods and says, hey, I can supply you with eggs. Then the next day he goes to Walmart. Hey, I can supply you with eggs. Then the next day he goes to Trader Joe's. Hey, I can supply you with eggs. Then he goes to Meijer and says, I can supply you with eggs. And let's say he gets, or if you're in Europe, like Aldi or Lidl or something like that, right? Let's say he gets a call from Whole Foods and they said, yeah, we want you to supply us with eggs. We'll start with 50 stores. Who do you think is going to sell more eggs, Bob or Andy? The guy who's got eggs in 50 stores, or the guy who's got knocking on doors trying to sell eggs one at a time? And it's going to be the guy who's got distribution every single time. So what most people do is when they want to go sell something, they try and drum up sales directly. And I try and go where the audience is. And for me, my first experience with that is when I started speaking at conferences. Like, holy shit, are sales ever easy when you speak at a conference? You like literally just speak and you walk off stage and like 5, 10, sometimes 20 people are waiting to work with you. And you're like, oh, that was easy. Right? But the magic of it is that you there's a buying audience of people who spent money to be at the conference, and you have their captive attention for like an hour sometimes. And when you walk off, it's like if there's 800 people you just gave a speech to, it's not unusual for 10 of them to be ready to work with you after that speech. And so it's the same kind of deal where it's like, what most people do when they try and sell their thing, in this case an AI micro tool, is they try and one-to-one chase people, when if you go where the distribution is, the sales will happen automatically. Matt says one page AI. Interesting. Never heard of. Norris, I got a couple questions for you on deck. Frankie, any advice or experience with agencies in the hotel and like travel and experience space? I mean, yeah, we got people doing it. I don't know what you're looking for specifically in that niche, more than just if you're just asking, is it viable? Most niches are viable. Just, there wouldn't be a niche if there wasn't like commerce being done in it. It's more just like finding the, what I call, unmet needs in the marketplace, which are in every niche, but you have to like do some research to find those. Already got 2 articles published with shoe stores. The conferences are on to my game and want me to pay to speak, but the shoe store method is going well. Yeah, exactly. It's sometimes the shoe stores will try and get you to speak, but a lot of times, by the way, even if they're asking you to pay to speak, if you're like, hey dude, I can help you sell tickets, that is like way better to them than money. It's like they want people to be there. And a lot of times for them to sell tickets, like, you don't need to externally promote it. They already got an email list and an audience. Like, the people to buy the event are already in their audience. They're just not doing enough to promote it. Paul says, Frankie, I heard Meta updated how their ads win and so on. Is your El Chapo ads course still relevant? Yes, just so you know, Paul, and anyone listening, all my shit is really based on offers, and offers don't change. So like a lot of how people obsess about Facebook ads, which I'm not against, however you guys want to run Facebook ads, but a lot of people obsess about algorithms, man. Like the amount of people, like I go into Facebook communities and everybody's going, oh, my ads aren't working. What am I doing wrong? And everybody goes, well, what campaign setting and conversion? And what about your pixel? And you only scale in winners by this much. And we focus on the offer and the human being on the other side of the ad. And in doing so, I've survived 27 algorithm updates. And, not just with Facebook, but like I've been through a lot of fucking updates through Google as well. Like we run Google ads. I run ads a lot of places people don't. I run Twitter ads. I run Reddit ads. We're about to launch some TikTok ads, and like we're able to make like most of those things work because they're just based on offers. So I don't know. I don't get caught up in all the algorithm shit. I mean, there is ebb and flow to it, but you know, if your offer works, your offer works. If it works on people, it'll work on people, regardless of where you advertise. I think too many people get way caught up in the tech, and not enough people get caught up in the what are you actually offering the human being on the other side of the ad. And for us personally, I've done a lot better focused on that piece. Fistful of dimes. That sounds like some serious coin. What's your real opinion on digital marketing services for local businesses? I understand the money is there, but there is a visceral hatred for marketers at this point. Um, yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, I think like 50% of why we're hated is because a lot of marketers make promises they can't keep and say like, "I'll get you a bazillion leads and you'll be an overnight trillionaire." And hey, um, but 50% of it, just so you know, is because local businesses generally don't have their shit together. And so a lot of times you send them leads and their conversion rates are abysmal. They can't answer basic questions. They don't pick up their phone. Like there's a lot of shit that goes wrong in that process that isn't all on the agency. Having said that, one of the things I wish I knew earlier, like years ago, this will make your life easier to understand. Is like, let's say you decide you're going to work with dentists or whatever. You're just going to like be in your local area. So I'm in Miami right now. So like, I'm only going to work with Miami area businesses and I'm going to network with them and whatever. Right. Um, what we do works best when you amplify businesses that are winning without you. Let me say that again. We help winners win more. And what most agencies try and do, like I would tell you, like 60% of their problems when they start getting clients, I'm talking like, are that they're trying to save losing businesses. So Gordon Ramsay, like he has a show I used to watch back in the day called Kitchen Nightmares. So he goes into a restaurant and they're struggling and they're all fucked up and it makes for like really dramatic TV. And often he brings them a new menu and then there's the publicity of him being there and his team like renovates the building and makes it all brand new. 19 so like one of the things I've looked up is like what happened to restaurant X, what happened to restaurant Y, what happened to restaurant Z. 19 out of 20 of those businesses are out of business in a year. So 19 out of 20, so they were failing before Gordon Ramsay shows up. He makes like mega changes and they still fail 19 out of 20 times. And this is a guy who's the most famous chef in the world, right? He can't save losers. So what makes you think you can with your Facebook ad? So like a lot, you know, just being real with you, in a lot of niches, like some of these guys are like raging alcoholics, like real estate. Like imagine working with a realtor who's not going to be a realtor in a year from now. Like that's harsh. So agency services work best when you aim it at the top 20% of your market, the movers and the shakers. You amplify winners. And I'll tell you, if you focus on that piece, you'll have way more success with the businesses you work with in general. And you'll find you're less hated, by the way, from those people because they actually see agencies as like valuable partners because you're not just the blame of all their problems. You know, they're like they understand they need quality partnerships to succeed. And so most of the headaches are just dealing with fucking losers. Like, and not you shouldn't be doing that. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. Micah says, "Yo, what's up? What's up, dude? I'm in my Airbnb in Miami, and it's been a lot of travel, dude. I just like my ass laid in bed. I went for a little walk in the park, did some thinking, but you know, like it hasn't been a productive morning so far. But I needed a little rest, so that's how I'm doing." Paul says, "I saw your video on how to use micro commitments for high ticket selling with ads. How would you run ads for low ticket AI micro tools?" I literally just sell them directly. Um, and I just demonstrate the problem they're already experiencing. Most micro tools are based on a problem that sucks. So I demonstrate the problem that sucks. And then I say, hey, we got a solution to that. Because it's a micro sale with ads, you can typically go right to the sale and make sales. So that's what we do. Like you guys will notice most of you guys are, not all you guys, but a lot of you guys are in my book funnel. Like we just sell the damn book because it's a micro sale. So it's not like we try and get you to become a lead and send you 47 opt-in emails about it. It's like just buy the fucking book. And you can do that with like lower ticket things straight to ads. You can probably do it with higher ticket stuff, but I think it gets more difficult, and your messaging has to be more on point. Nora says, not sure if you have time for a Loom script breakdown live, but I got a new one I'm working on. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you can send me the notes on it, I don't necessarily have time to like live, like watch a video, but if you send me the deets on it, I'm happy to look. It's Bo Light. Is the only way to get your first clients through cold calling local businesses? No. And actually, I'm doing a free training on that because everybody says you got to fucking cold DM people. I'll give you guys a short list of the ones that have already started like putting on the list. So one is lead magnet. You get them to get interested in a thing, and then you follow up with them emails. And unlike cold calling, they've raised their hand. Secondly is contributing to communities. They can be both digital and virtual, or they can be in person. Content, like you publish stuff. There's endless variations of content, YouTube channels, podcasts. Those are a few. Networking, you go face to face, you shake their hands. Especially if you're just getting started. BNI and Chamber of Commerce meetings can be really, really good, or local entrepreneurial meetup groups. Referral partners, you basically help people who know a bunch of business owners, and then they'll feel like they owe you and send you people. Paid advertisements, if you got the budget. Facebook's the most common one. We also use YouTube. Personal branding, where you post on your profile every day about stuff. Strategic relationships, what I would call shoe stores. Bolting on, that's kind of an advanced one, but it's not super complicated to do. Is you find a business that already sells the people you want, and you make your thing an add-on service to theirs. Let them make a little bit of money. They'll go sell it for you. It's kind of a variation of white label. Webinars have always crushed it for us. You do free training, show the business owners how to do stuff, and they will, sign up for your free training. And a lot of them will go, can you just do the thing you trained me how to do? So you give away the ideas and charge for the implementation. But those are a couple examples. I'm going to go a lot deeper on this in a free training I'm doing over the next few weeks. But no, I think cold calling and cold emailing is actually the least efficient way to get clients. And it's what everybody teaches because three reasons, actually. Reason number one, it's easy to understand. It's like it's basically door-to-door knocking, right? Like, want to sell your shit, door-to-door knock. But by the way, most businesses don't door-to-door knock to sell their thing. There's like plenty of other ways to generate customers that aren't door-to-door knocking. Two, it's free, right? That's why everybody says cold call and shit, because, like you don't have to have a big ad budget or whatever. And third is, I think that honestly, a lot of the gurus, I think that's all they know how to do is just cold DM people. But one of the things that's evolving over, like, markets are not static. And what I mean by that is, like, if a business gets 50 cold DMs a week, and then over the course of 3 years, everybody says to do it, and now they're getting 5,000 cold DMs. Like, it's going to work less. It's going to work less. No matter what anybody tells you, it's going to work less. And so I'm a big fan of zig when everyone else zags. And if you understand the principles of it, you can create your own techniques and not have to cold call anyone. Nora says, I learned this the hard way. Or it says hard war, but I think that's a typo. I thought I had a great first couple months, got 5 people working with me. 2 months later, they're all gone. Same story. They can't afford to keep going, even with results. Yeah, that's just a side effect of working with the wrong businesses. A lot of times it's easy to personalize that and think you did something wrong, said something wrong, whatever, but it's usually just like you shouldn't have worked with those people in the first place. Nicholas, dude, what's up? I've been meaning actually to catch up with you. I just haven't because I've been traveling, but hey, what's up, Frankie? Just curious about how your agency handles website optimization for the SEO side of things. Hard to scale, fulfill when each client has a different website builder. So, I mean, obviously, like, it's been a while since I've done that, but I've helped a lot of folks in our mastermind do that. And one of the things, like, for example, I had this conversation with Kyle. So Kyle was actually the first person in our wolf pack. He's the first guy as well in the wolf pack to hit 100K a month, starting at some lower number. I forget where he started, but $1 million a year. I guess actually $1 million is 83,333 a month, but he hit 100K anyways, and he's well past that now. But anyways, he was doing SEO, and one of the things he said is that same question, which is, oh my God, every time I get a new client, their website sucks. I have to redo it. Like, what would you do if you were me? And I said to him, I said, what's actually driving the results? And he said to me that more than anything, it's the GBP. It's the Google Business Profile. And I said, so you're spending all this fucking time updating their website and making changes, blah, 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 when it's actually the GBP that's driving calls. And I said, why don't we just eliminate all the website changes and you double down on the GBP, since that's the thing that's working anyway. And what we did is we eliminated like 80% of his headaches in that, and he was able to scale the agency better, because a lot of the conversion, if a business ranks high on Google and has an optimized listing and has a bunch of reviews, the conversion happens there before the website is even visited. It's like Google is kind of endorsing you in a way, right? So a lot of times you don't even need to fucking update their website. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's not where the conversion is happening anyway. So my advice to you would be the same. Like, fuck them. Don't update all their websites. Double down on their GBP, unless you're dealing with broad businesses that are like national or international. And then in that case, charge them for it. If you need to make 80,000 website changes, like charge accordingly and say like, I need to do that. Does General Loom outreach work for GHL SaaS too? Yes. Just so you know, like Loom outreach is really based on a couple of main principles. So thing number one is offer. Like, let's make the offer do the selling, not the way people typically do it with pushy sales calls. Thing number two is demonstrating that offer. So making a visual, which makes it crystal clear, this is what I can do for you, where it gets the prospect to understand it in 3 to 5 seconds. And then 3 is answering the basic questions they want to know about it, including the most commonly asked question, which is, how much is it? How much is it? Right? So we're upfront and we answer that question in a video. So I don't want you guys to think the magic of it is the fucking video, because like I could do this on a napkin if you guys wanted, like for real. I could sit down with a business owner and sketch out an offer for them on a napkin, and they would say yes. And the magic is not the napkin, right? It's, I'd have people going, does your napkin method work for my niche? It ain't the napkin method. It's offers, demonstration, and answering the questions they're really going to ask you. If you do those 3 things, then what happens is 98% of the shit they were going to ask you gets covered in a video, and they go, okay, that makes sense. Let's do it. Or they might say on odd occasion, I got a question. How do we get started? But there ain't no, like, it ain't no different with GHL. We got lots of people selling GHL SaaS. Sorry, I missed some shit here. We got a whole bunch of things. YouTube finally worked and sent me the live notification. Boom, Derek's here. What's up, motherfucker? Fistful of Dimes. What's your thoughts on Facebook leads for SEO work? I mean, Facebook is my favorite way to get agency clients, including SEO. SEO is a weird thing. Normally, I would say 9 times out of 10, whatever you're suggesting to a client to generate them business, you should do the same thing. So like if you're saying you should run ads to a business, you should run ads. I'll tell you, nothing made our sales process easier in my second agency when we'd be selling ads and a client would say, well, how do I know Facebook ads are going to work for me? And I'd go, how did you find me again? And they go, I think it was a Facebook ad. And we're having a sales conversation right now and you're thinking about buying this shit? Well, didn't you just answer your own question? How do you know it works? Because you're fucking here, right? That's how I know it works. So what I was going to say, though, is SEO is the one exception to that, because often ranking a local business and ranking for SEO terms, ranking your own shit is 100 times more competitive than ranking client shit. And so for that reason, like, you're going to have to find another way. And I think Facebook is one of the best ways of doing it, especially if you got a budget to play around with it. But just so you know, you're not really selling SEO. This throws people up. What you're doing is you're making a promise. And the promise is both, who are you going to bring them? How much volume are you going to bring them? By when? But not, hey, we'll do SEO for you for $2,000 a month. Just so you know, that's not the offer. And a lot of people get tripped up in that. I think I need to cold call just to get my chops. I'm not a salesman by any stretch. I think it's a useful thing to actually talk to clients and figure out what they want. I actually, like, if I ever do cold calling, which is rare, it's a market research tool, not a sales tool. Like, so what most people are doing is they're like, hey, do you want to buy my shit, random stranger? I'm like, hey, Mr. Plumber, hey, dude, I'll just be real with you. I'm a marketer. I'm doing some research, and is it cool if I ask you just like 3 questions to figure out what's valuable to you? I ain't even going to try and sell you anything. Like, who are you most? What kind of jobs are you most trying to get? What do you hate about dealing with people like me? And like shit like that. And then once I understand and I hear the same thing 4 or 5 times in a row, then I go, okay, let's turn that into an offer. Um, and then, for example, like I'll give you a real offer we came up with in the plumbing niche. Um, somebody, when we talked to the clients, they said they had 3 big fears. Fear number one, I'm going to get overcharged. Fear number two, they're real slow in getting here. And so like it's going to leak and it's going to leak and it's going to leak. And fear number three is the guy's going to smell like shit when he gets here. So we made a promise. We'll never overcharge you and we'll be upfront about pricing, put everything in writing before any work gets started, and there will never be a hidden fee with us. 2, we'll show up in less than 30 minutes at your door, guaranteed, even if it's traffic. And our plumber will smell freshly showered. That's it. We created an offer about that. So when I'm doing the market research, that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, so if I was going to do cold calling, it wouldn't be to sell anything. It would be to figure out who are these people and what do they want. And I just tell them the truth. Or another angle that's worked for me is I'll say, hey, I'm a student and I'm thinking about going into your industry, plumbing, whatever. I'm like, is it cool if I ask you like 3 quick questions just for my little school project? And they'll sometimes say that, but I'm really doing market research. So like, I think cold calling is a great tool for that, but I don't think you need to sell by cold calling. Yo, Frankie, what's going on? What's up? Guys need to read Upstream or so. Yeah, Upstream's an awesome book, by the way. Frankie talks about it in the mastermind. Frankie now talks about solving the right problem, which is what Upstream talks about. Upstream, by the way, for those of you guys who never read it, I'll save you like reading the book. But Upstream is it's a book that talks about any sort of recurring problem in business and life is happening upstream. So the example they use at the start of the book is there's 2 guys, they're sitting by the side of the river, and then all of a sudden a little girl goes, help me, I'm drowning. So they jump in and they rescue the little girl, right? Then 2 minutes go by again, and another little girl, help me, I'm drowning. Go rescue her. 2 minutes go by, another little girl, help me, I'm drowning. One of the guy runs in, one of the guys starts walking up the shore. The guy who jumps in goes, where the fuck are you going? And he goes, I'm going up the river to see who keeps throwing little girls in the water. In other words, I'm going to go solve the problem at the source. And so the book got me really, really thinking about that most agency problems and things like that in business are really a symptom of something else. So I never, for years, I was taught all these, for example, like objection handling scripts. Like somebody would say, I got to talk to my partner, cousin, uncle, former roommate. Can you send me a proposal? We'll circle it back. And I learned objection handling scripts. Yes, Mr. Prospect, I agree with you. It's smart to talk it over with your partner and to tell you the truth. And then I try and flip it around and try and close them again. And when I started to look at like that's happening upstream, where in the conversation did they start objecting? Because it wasn't the moment I said, hey, do you want to buy this thing? They started objecting earlier. And the more I started recognizing that happened earlier, I could begin to address it at the moment. By the way, 98% of objections is that your presented plan or process to get them a result sounds too similar to something they tried that didn't work. Like that's usually the main objection to agency services. So what I learned to do is I would present them my plan or process and then go, what do you think of that? I learned that if there was objections, then like if I talked about like, so somebody mentioned SEO, I was like, this is what I would do to get you to #1 in Google. What do you think of that? And if they go, well, and there's resistance, they're going to object to the sale later. But if they say, man, that sounds exactly like what we need, then I can just close right then and there. And so when I felt resistance to the plan, instead of rushing ahead to the sale, I'd go, well, let's talk about that. Because, it sounds like the devil's always in the details. We're probably not talking about the same thing. And anyways, I share that with you just because, that comment is correct from Matt, that, a lot of the issues that agencies experience actually happen earlier and they don't recognize when it happened earlier. So they're trying to deal with it at the symptom level. And the symptom level will have you jumping in, trying to save a new little girl every 2 minutes. But if you deal with it at the source of where it's actually happening, all of a sudden little girls are just not there in the river. And so for me, once I started dealing with the objections where they were happening, I would just get credit cards with no objections, by the way, no objections. They wouldn't ask me for a proposal. They wouldn't say I need to talk to a brother, cousin, uncle, former roommate, they just give you the money and you say thank you and you say, let's get started. Um, Frankie, what do you think? Whoops, scroll down. Hold on, let me find that. Whoops, I lost it. Frankie, what do you think of selling to multiple niches but niching down in your ads or shoe store outreach? You can. I mean, there's no have tos in any of this. It's just what happens is you'll spread yourself thin and your messaging will get weak because every industry has like secret sort of insider language. So, like, for example, if all of us, there's 22 of us on this live right now, I guess 23 if you count me, and we were all sitting down at dinner and we were talking about SEO and GBPs and click through rates and GHL, everybody would understand what we were talking about at the table. I'll tell you, if my brother was there or my sister, they'd be like, what the fuck's a GHL SaaS? Like, that would sound like a foreign language. So part of the issue is if you try and go after a bunch of niches at once, you won't speak their language. Like, somebody sent me an outreach message the other day. It was a bad one. And they were messaging a dentist and they said, we can get you more customers. A dentist doesn't even call his people customers. He calls them patients. So like he already knows you're lying to him on sentence number one. He doesn't believe you. So like that's why I'm big on like pick a niche because you can develop industry expertise. But if you can manage it, like especially if the niches are similar. So like Lana, for example, she sells to yoga studios, but she also sells to dance studios and to fitness studios and to Pilates studios, right? And there's more the same than different there. So there can be reasons to be wide, but like you just got to be careful that you end up because what happens when people try and talk to too many clients at once, they end up saying nothing to anybody. That's the most common example. And everybody thinks about like bigger addressable TAM, which stands for total addressable market. For those of you guys not familiar with that acronym, and the reality is that most of you guys would hit your wildest income goals with between 10 and 50 clients, 100 if you're feeling like a baller. So like, you know, you got 30 clients paying you 3K a month, you're going to make 100 grand a month almost with 30 people. So like, it's not about trying to get the giant, most wide total addressable market. That's for Starbucks and mass market businesses. For us, it's the goal is to get the right 30 people in the machine so they keep paying you month after month. Colin says, would you recommend doing companies GBP for free just to get them a win right away and then sell them on a monthly retainer? You can, Colin, but just so you know, when most people use free the wrong way, and the wrong way, in my opinion, is to kind of like beg businesses to work with you. And the right way is to strategically identify influential targets. So like, for example, like, would I do some free shit for Alex Hermosi? You're goddamn right I would. Why? Because then I could turn around and say, hey, look at the shit I did for Alex Hermosi. Right. So that I wouldn't just like beg any internet marketer to do some free shit because what'll end up happening is like a lot of them won't even take your free shit. And when they do, like that, it'll end there. Having said that, like one of the things I did, for example, in a couple of our services is I identify like shoe stores, market leaders and industry leaders, people who have credibility in my space. And I'll often be like, hey, dude, let me do this thing for you for free. And I just want to be able to tell people I did it. So my favorite example of this is Justin Brook, who we did some webinar stuff with on this channel like years ago. When you guys search, you can probably find that still. But Justin, this was like 10 years ago in the height of the ClickFunnels fame. He sent a box of brownies in the mail to Russell Brunson's headquarters in Boise, Idaho, which I'll be next week. Actually, at the end of the week, I'll be there on Friday. Anyways, so he messages Russell and says, hey, I want to run this retargeting thing. Retargeting was still kind of newish. And he's like, I want to sell your mastermind. I'm going to do it for free. Would you let me do it? So he ran the campaign for Russell and it worked. They got a couple of people and two things happened. Thing number one is Russell started recommending those mastermind members, hey, go check out this guy's retargeting thing. It's really good. He'll help you sell your mastermind or whatever. But thing number two, which is to me actually way more valuable, is now he can run a case study and say, look what I did for Russell Brunson, right? And I think that ad would crush it way more than any just like I say I'm cool is let me show you what I did for the best in the industry or somebody you would know. So in every industry, there's people who's have name recognition that if you do some free shit for them, will ultimately look and reflect good on you. I wouldn't use it as a beg any business to work with me tool. I would strategically. So this is like rifle, not shotgun. What people just do is go, I'll do some free shit for you. And then you get all these fucking broke ass businesses. You have to really think about it. Like business is a lot like dating, right? If your dating criteria is anyone, that includes crackheads. Like, and a lot of times people say, I'm not ready to date the prom queen. I'll date 6 crackheads. And, and when I've figured out the ropes of dating, then I'll date the prom queen. But in reality, all you find out is that crackheads are crazy. So be careful who you give it away to. Don't give it away to crackhead, struggling, broke ass, retarded businesses. That's the technical term, by the way. Give it away to somebody who's influential that you can then turn around and say, look what I did for this guy that you would know. That's the best way to use free, in my experience. In the AI age, the demonstration part is easier than ever. Correct. We actually just built a tool in our mastermind to make them at the speed of light. I have mock-up landing pages that look pretty good for my bigger prospects. I just screenshot it and put it in the doc. I'm scrolling on Loom. Correct. That is what we're doing as well. And then when they can visually see it, they understand it 1,000 times faster. Derek says, oh, nice, spin on it. I don't know what that was in reference to. I think that was a few minutes ago. I'm behind in the chat, so sorry, guys. I'm catching up. Fistful of Dimes. What's the best way to go about setting up the hand raiser on Facebook? Just join groups and skeet friend requests everywhere, more or less. I don't just randomly add people, just, so I'm looking for 2 things. One, is the community or whatever related to buying? Because typically the people who spend money on one thing spend money on everything. So like I could go to agency owner groups, but that's very different than if I go to an agency owner group called Go High Level, where everybody bought a software. Or I go to like my friend Josh Nelson, who, has a coaching program, and a lot of people pay money for his coaching program. Because of those 2 things, I know they're spending money. And then second thing is I look for people who are active on the platform. So like, you don't want to, like for me, like I'm not on LinkedIn. I mean, I am on LinkedIn, but I log into it once a month. So if you guys message me on LinkedIn, you're really just messaging my virtual assistant. That's how little I use it. But if what I mean by that is, if you're going to friend people on LinkedIn, you want ones who are on that shit every day, not just somebody like me who casually logs in once a month. So if you add the buyers and you add the people who are active, like those specific friend requests are the most valuable. But yes, you got the basic idea. And I very much approve of using the word skeet in a question. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, don't Google that. Frankie, last week I wanted to ask some questions, but you had to go somewhere, so couldn't ask. Go for it. You got a combo breaker. Derek says, I'm really like that. We'll do it. Okay, thanks. Paul says, when using Loom videos for selling, should it be 5 minutes and not less? Because many people have short attention spans. If somebody's really interested in the topic and solving the problem, they'll watch longer. Having said that, like, don't make it any longer than it needs to be. So it's not like the only reason my first 5-minute Loom videos were 5 minutes is because I've had the experience of like I buy a software and then I forget that I bought the software, and then I check my bank statements, and like 8 years later, I'm like, oh shit, I'm still paying for that because I forgot to cancel it. So when I wanted to test selling through Loom videos, I used the free version. The paid version I have, I think, is like $10, $12, something like that. But I didn't want to buy it because I'm like, man, I don't want to sign up for this shit, try an idea, and then 10 years later still be paying for it because I forgot to cancel it. So I was like, I forced myself to make my first version shorter than 5 minutes. Having said that, if it's 6.5 minutes, nobody dies. If you're harping on the right thing, the right business, and the right problem, and the right offer, they'll watch 27 minutes if need be. You just have to like nail that detail. I actually am new to local SEO, and I was wondering how many calls I should include in my offer. I want to be compelling enough to convince clients while still being realistic for me. You mean like I'm going to do SEO and my promise is I can, bring you 50 to 100 calls. A lot of that is just doing the research. And like, so I'll give you some stats that may be useful to you. One is like Google search tool. Like I forget what they call it, keyword tool or whatever. You go into Google Ads, it'll show you the search volume. Statistically, about 4% or 5% of people who search local stuff will pick up the phone and call. So like 1 out of every 20, 25 visitors. So you can like, because it's going to be a different answer if you're going to get them ranking in Miami versus Frog Balls, Arkansas, but you can get an estimate just based on real stats of like, this is how many calls I think you could get. And then what I typically do is cut that number in half. So if I think I can get them 100 calls, I tell them 50. And then go, hey, I think I can get you 50 calls. But like, it's just reverse engineering the math, but it's all there, like in Google system. Andre says, love your work. Can you break down your high converting VSL? I came across you through that Loom video breakdown you made. Has anything changed? No, Andre. Appreciate you loving on my work, dude. Just so you guys know what a Loom video really is, it's the 80-20 of a sales call. So I've done a lot of sales calls for a lot of years, like thousands of them, definitely more than 1,000, possibly like 2,000 or 3,000, over 20 years. Like I didn't do this in 5 minutes, but one of the things I found out is like, so most of my sales calls, they would start with rapport where you find some common ground. So they'll open up to you and give you the truth. That usually takes like 5 or 10 minutes. Then I'd spend the next, sometimes anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 45 minutes harping on problems and outcomes. Tell me where it hurts. Tell me what's not working. Tell me what you're trying to move towards. Then I would say, like, they would want to know, can you do something about my situation? And I would give them a clear yes, no, maybe, I'm not sure, it depends on this. And then if they said yeah, they would want to know, like, how does that work? Like, how are you gonna get me the business? How are you gonna solve my problem? And then if that passed the check, they'd want to know, how much is it? And if they like the price, they'd want to know, how do I buy it? So a Loom video is like, we're just doing that. But what allows us to do it a lot faster is because it's visual instead of with words. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but like, this is real as fuck for me. So like 12, 13 years, every time we had a Christmas or a birthday or a family get together, a wedding, funeral, you name it, it would always be like, family would ask the same goddamn question every time. Like, what is it you do for money? What is it? What is it you do? I know you told me before, but like, what is it you do? Like, after a decade, still answering the same question. In fact, I got so bored with it, I'd make shit up. I'd be like, I'm a drug dealer. Or I'd say like, I'm Batman. Yeah, you heard of me. I rescue Gotham. Like I got tired of giving real answers. But one time I was with my mom. My mom's no longer alive, but my ex had taken a video of me speaking at a lawyer conference, and she took like a little 90-second video of me giving a talk. And she was like, hey, Cindy, like, this is what he does. Let me show you. And she sent him a video, and she was like, oh my God, can you send that to me? She never asked me again, what is it you do? So a key component of a Loom video is that we're taking a sales argument that would normally take a lot of words to understand, and we're making a visual picture that can be understood in 3 to 5 seconds. And we're doing that throughout. So when they want to know how it works as well, we're showing them in visual pictures. This is how it works. And the reason we do that is because they understand pictures faster than words. And by doing it that way, like, instead of the 60-minute call, it goes down to 3 minutes. But like, the reason it works is because we're answering the questions they're really going to ask you. If you do sales calls, that's what they're going to ask you, is the content of the Loom video. And that's also the order they're going to ask them to you. Like 1,000 sales calls, they don't ask you new shit each call, just so you know. Like you do 10 calls in a row, by the 11th call, you can finish their sentences, especially if you're like doing it over and over again in the same niche. So that's the magic of it. It's like, we're just visually answering the questions they really want to know. Can you tell me more about interacting with conferences that have speaker and promo packages? I'm assuming you mean that question in terms of you want to get into those conferences and you want to get yourself featured. So I'll give you a little like alternate perspective on that. So I worked with an industry called PILMA. My friend and mentor, Ken Hardison, the Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association. And when I worked with PILMA, I got to see behind the scenes of running a conference and running an event, like Ken preparing for it. And one of the things that happens is they sell tickets to the same people every year. Like in their case, we get like 800, 1,000 people. It'd be the same 1,000 people every year. And one of the things is it got harder and harder to sell tickets each year because people would say shit like, it's the same speakers as last year. I'm going to skip it this year. There's nothing new. I'll wait till they got some new stuff. So behind the scenes, we were scrambling going, I need 5 to 10 new speakers who got some new shit these people have never heard before. What do we got? So when you show up as a speaker and say, hey, I've got some really cool new shit that will benefit your people that nobody in our industry is talking about. And a lot of times it's making a big deal out of small shit. new Google update, new Facebook thing, special type of campaign. Oh, we're doing geofencing, whatever. You make a big deal out of little shit and you go, I got some new shit. And what for them, it assists them with selling tickets. They're not having you there because they think you're such a qualified expert and you're so cool. They're like, we need new shit to sell tickets. And if you just happen to have a new and exciting topic, they'll speed you to the front of the line. So what I do is I look at the event and I look at what's being talked about in the industry and I go, what's something new? So like in the water damage restoration, when I got into it, I looked and it was like not one person was talking about AI. And I was like in my industry, it's like people can't shut up about it. Is your post written by AI? Oh, I saw your EM dash or M dash or whatever the fuck it's called. They're like, I know it's written by AI, ChatGPT. I can see because of the emojis and like shit like that, And then I looked at restoration. Not at the time, like obviously it's changed since then. It's been a year and a half, but when I started, nobody was talking about AI. And so when I came in and said like, hey, like let me show your people how they can use AI for 87 different ways in their restoration industry, they put my ass on the front cover and had me come speak at their event. It ain't because like they thought I was such a qualified expert and shit like that. It's because like they needed new shit to talk about. And I'm like, I got the ultimate new shit to talk about. So there's always new shit that can be talked about. There's always like changes and evolution in your industry, and you can make a big deal out of small shit. In fact, I actually remember giving that talk. I was with John Marenko in Las Vegas, and I remember at the start of it, I said like, "Hey, put up your hands if you're using AI every day." And like 5 people put up their hand. I said, "Put up your hands if you know what it is," and like 10 to 15 people put up their hands. And then I was like, "Okay, are you guys being serious? Like, you don't really know what AI is, or you just like don't want to put up your hands because of the speaker like asks you to put up your hands and you're kind of like you just don't want to participate?" And they're like, "No, we don't know what it is. That's why we're in this room." And I went, "Get the fuck out of here. You guys don't know what Chat GPT is?" And they looked at each other like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, well, you guys are gonna have your fucking heads blown off." Now they're having me at their event not because he's the qualified expert of experts. It's because like it assists them with selling tickets to have something new. You guys are going to have your heads blown off with this new AI shit. You're going to want to be in that room. Holy shit, this is never before seen stuff. Then they put you into their room. So that's about speakers and promo packages. Just find some shit in your industry nobody's harping on and make a big deal out of it. Just kind of sidestep that and keep the relationship free both ways and provide value. Of course, like you always want to provide value to your partners, but the ultimate way you can provide value to like conferences and conference owners is give them shit that helps them sell tickets. What got you into online marketing and sales, or what was your initial break separating your physical constraint from a job to making sales online and being able to travel for 2 weeks whenever, for example? That's a funny question, Andre. So I didn't like it's become cool to be like, online expert and like, live and work from anywhere. And that's been my life for like 20 years now. But I didn't wake up and say like, that's what I want to do. I met a friend and I was big into the like get rich in real estate. I still do some stuff in real estate. But I'd read all the books and courses and I was in my hometown and I saw a sign up one day and my hometown doesn't have a lot of like wholesalers and real estate people. And I saw a sign from another guy and I went to go rip his sign down. I was like, fuck that guy. I'm not having any competition. But I was like, I should call him and see if he's a douche. And we ended up like we've been good friends for like 20 years since that phone call. It was about 3 months later, and he called me up randomly, and he said, "Hey Frankie, I wrote a real estate course, and we're going to sell it on the internet." And I said, "We?" I was like, "No, dude, you're going to sell your own fucking course." And what happened is I don't know if you guys remember the 2008 financial crisis. For those of you guys who are older, you'll remember it. Like it was a rough time, but it really hit my city in about 2006. My hometown in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, was it was like there were layoffs galore. So everybody works for Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, basically, or suppliers of Ford, GM, and Chrysler. Like you're intimately involved in car companies. And I remember General Motors closed a plant, laid off 15,000 people. This is in a city of like 250,000. So they laid off 15,000 people. You can probably double that number of suppliers. So like 10% of the city got fired in one day. And I was trying to get a job. I was still in the, like, I was between jobs, but I was still of the mentality I was going to go find some work and I would build it on the side. And I couldn't get a job. I actually remember I went to a job fair just to see who was hiring, and there were 50 people at the job fair, and all 50 were commission only sales jobs. Like, you can sell insurance, you can sell real estate, you can sell mortgages, you can sell investments. And it was all just like commission only sales jobs. And I remember thinking, okay, if I have to sell something, I might as well sell my own thing. And so 3 days later, I called Matt and I was like, let's do it. And that sent me into like building a website. It took me a month to build my first website. That sent me down SEO. I had to learn how to like get traffic. I just like literally just thought you built a website and people gave you money. And then I was shocked to find out nobody even knew my website existed. And then eventually somebody came along, a girl from China, and she offered me a couple $1,000s to buy the site. And we had made a little bit of money. I was making a few $100 a month from the site, but she offered me like more than I was making for like 2 years of it. I think it was like $5,000. I don't remember the exact number, but she said, if I gave you $5,000, would you sell me the site? And I was like, I didn't need to think about it. I was like, gone. And then I was like, what am I going to do? And then just right around that time, like a guy I knew online said, hey, you know that SEO thing you did for you? Could you do it for my client? And he sold um, plastic surgery websites, and he wanted like someone to help him rank it. And I said, okay. And he didn't tell me that, but he had hundreds and hundreds of plastic surgeons he worked for, and eventually started giving me more and more. And so I kind of accidentally got into an SEO agency. I didn't wake up one day and decide I wanted to do it, but I'll tell you, it was a blessing in disguise, because that financial crisis, it literally took away my ability to get a job. Everywhere I looked, they were laying people off. And so it was like I was trying to get hired, and I'm like, I couldn't even do it. So it forced me for the first time in my life to get serious about my dreams. And I didn't do it out of like, I'm going to start an online business and travel the world and people are going to know my name. I was like, literally, like, I'm going to be homeless and I'm not going to eat. And thankfully, I was living on my girlfriend's couch. It was kind of like a rough period of time, but eventually, like, we started making sales. And I still remember the first time somebody online, it took me about like, it was months into it, but I remember somebody just sent me money. And I remember calling up Matt and I was like, Matt, you're never going to believe this. Somebody just gave us $47. And he was like, who? And I was like, that's the best part. I have no idea who. And we spent an hour. He came over to my house. We spent an hour trying to Google the guy. And I just couldn't find him, like, because he had a generic name, like a Bob Smith or a Dave Johnson. I forget what it was, but we like literally just couldn't find anything about him. And I was like, we just got money from a stranger on the internet. It was about a week later until we got the second one. And for the whole week, I was thinking maybe there's just one idiot in the universe. It's like, and the second time somebody paid me is when it actually became real. The first time I was like, okay, maybe it was once is just lucky, lightning in a bottle. The second time I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like, this is really going to happen. But it was a rough 2 years figuring that out, just so you guys know. Anyways, that's how I got into it. And by the way, I only learned the sales side of it because I couldn't sell my own SEO. So the partner's guy's name was Rick, and he sold websites, and he turned out to be like kind of an asshole. He was like a mean drunk. We hung out lots of times in person, like 50, 100 times. And I just got sick of dealing with him. He was like a mean drunk, and I'm like, how do I get people to buy SEO so I don't have to go through Rick? That was like what got me into figuring out online sales, was not because I wanted to do Loom videos and clothes and live anywhere. It wasn't anything that cool. Colin says, skeet, skeet. My boy knows what's up. I'm focusing. Scotty says, I'm focused on a couple home service niches. What GAHL services would you recommend I start with to help get my foot in the door? Reviews, SM, etc. Would you offer a free trial or something else? I'm going to tell you, like, first thing I do in any new industry, I post this every single Q&A. I'm going to post it again, is I do research. I don't start with tools. I think everybody who starts with tools, generally speaking, ends up broker. Is when you start with, what tools should I sell somebody? You make a lot less money than starting with, what problems do you have? And I go into it with a blank slate, and I don't try and go, I'm going to sell them this or that. Like, why would I sell somebody a website who already has a website? But if they say, hey, we're not able to get kitchen tile jobs and we don't know how to get those, and then I look at their website and it doesn't even mention kitchen tile jobs, then I'd say, well, what if you made a website exclusively just for kitchen tiles, and I happen to make one for you, and I'll give you an intro offer just to get my foot in the door? That would work, not because it's the website builder tool, it's because they're trying to get kitchen tile jobs, So you have to figure that out first. Don't start with tools. Any of you guys, if you want to be broke, start with tools. You want to make more money, start with people and problems. And the market research bot will tell you, by the way. Just click on it, put your niche in, it'll tell you what they're stuck on. Could I sell AI micro tools for $500 a month? Of course. Like, solve a problem that's worth more than $500 a month. That's how you sell anything for $500 a month in our world. Shit, I just scrolled and lost it. Thanks for answering my question. Okay, so open up, harp on problems and outcomes. Can you do something about my situation? Yes, no, then how? How much is it? Then how do I buy? Awesome. Yeah, exactly. That's the formula. Like, they don't ask you, like a lot of times people think they're going to ask you questions like, how many trillions of people have you done this for? And what they really want to know is like, what is it going to do for me? Will it work for me in my situation? How does it work? How much is it? Okay, how do we get started? Sorry for your loss. Yeah, I appreciate that, Andre. How do you make your content and ads that filter out the broke, struggling business owners and just target the winners? How do you find their pain points that only apply to businesses who spend money? That's a very, very intelligent question. And I'll tell you the answer to that is two things. Okay. I do this in all my ads and all my content and all my outreach and all referral partnerships is I speak to two things. I speak to what they're already spending money on now. So like somebody mentioned home services. So like for those of you guys who are in home services, you know the name Angie's List. People spend a lot of money on Angie's List getting these non-exclusive leads, but they're spending money. So I know they can spend money because they're spending money. And then secondly, I speak to businesses with teams. By the way, almost all of your headache clients across any industry will be single solos, like one person businesses. If the owner is the business, I'm not saying all single solos are bad, but almost all of your headaches will be. So I just focus on those two things. I go, hey, are you buying Angie's List leads because you're trying to get steady work for your team? Who did I just talk to? Talk to somebody who's spending money, has a team. And by the way, the team both of those things represent a behavior that's important. If they're spending money, it represents I'm actively spending money to try and grow. So how do I know they're serious about growing? Because they're spending money to do it. 2, team means they've reached a point where it doesn't make sense to do everything myself, and I have to pay people to solve problems. You happen to be somebody that is going to want to get paid to solve problems. So when you speak to those two things, like you'll get the right people, and that's how I filter for it. Like people have said this in the agency space. They're like, man, you should have 10 times the audience size. And I'm like, but there's a reason. I'm talking to the buyers who spend money and who are actively doing shit. Because if I wanted to go bigger, just so you guys know, I would just do like 0 to 10K. Watch how I scale this motherfucker. Like, 10K to me is not scaling, just so you guys know. But to a lot of people, that is scaling. And I would just talk about like how any idiot can make money just getting into this internet game. But I don't, right? Because I'm not trying to deal with people who don't have money and are just dreaming about it. I want people who are actually in the trenches doing this. Ergo, I'm talking to a smaller segment of the audience, but they're more serious. I always say, like, I'd rather be known to 100% of the buyers. And if the non-buyers happen to know me in the industry, that's just a bonus. But yeah, but that's how you do it. I'm not trying to be a brokey, but is there a big difference between the free loom and the paid loom? It's just two things. One, you can record longer. So the free version cuts you off at 5 minutes. And 2, you can have more of them saved. So like, I think it's like 10 or 20 or something like that. Like you can have 10 or 20 videos, and then you got to start deleting old videos to make new videos on the free version, as where on the paid version, you can have hundreds and hundreds of them saved. But that's it. And just, I had the money and I still use the free version for all my first video closes. So I don't think it's a bad idea to learn the ropes on the free version. And your reference, in reference to your answer about conferences that make sense, a bit of reframe, very useful. How do you get, Aman says, how do you get your first client? There's probably about 6 steps. I've laid them out in a recent video, but like first thing you got to do is you got to decide who you're going to work for. That's like step 1. Like who do I want my business to be about? Without that, you're not aiming it, and it'll just be unfocused. Plumbers, dentists, doctors, lawyers, e-commerce stores, whatever. Pick somebody. And by the way, like there's lots of good niches. People get way too hung up on that. They act like it's picking a spouse. It's picking an ice cream flavor. Then you do the market research. I just posted the bot in the chat. I figure out what problems they're trying to solve, because your business has to fundamentally do something for them. It can't just be about you. Most people start with the tools. How can I make money selling GHL? That's a bad question. That'll keep you broke. What problems do they have? Better question. Where, what can I solve that's not already being solved? Then once I figure that out, I package that shit into an offer. Then from there, I go get a list of buyers in the space that I know can and do spend money. And then I go proactively build relationships with those people. That's like basically what I'm doing with anything I go to sell online. And by the way, most of my work as I do this more and more is like building the buyers list. Believe it or not, like that's what I spend most of my day doing is building buyers list and like nurturing buyers list. If you had to start an AI agency from scratch, what would you sell to who and how would you go get your clients? Same deal. Like I would decide on who, and then I would go do the market research on what problems they have. I wouldn't start with, hey, we do AI. I would start with, what are you spending all your fucking time doing that you don't want to be doing? That's a way better question, by the way. If they're spending like, and I'll give you a real example. Like Paul was mentioning earlier, AI micro tools. That came about. I was hanging with my all-time favorite lawyer. He was in Cabo. I live in La Paz, like 2 hours away in Mexico. I'm in Miami right now, but normally I live in Mexico. And anyways, so I was sitting with him in Cabo, and I was just asking, like, how's life? And he told me his divorce lawyer quit, and he said, there's all this admin. And I said, admin? Question mark. And then he said, yeah, like one of the things we got to do all day long is we get forms from the insurance companies, and then we have to like extract data and write responses to them. And we got to take all the data and put it into a spreadsheet. It sounds simple, but like State Farm has one way of doing it. Geico has another, Allstate does it a different way. And he said, like, just getting the data is a pain in the ass. Takes us 10, 15 minutes every time. And it's always a little bit different. And then the responses are like, they're always kind of the same, but they're always kind of different. And it's like, dude, are you using AI for that? And he was like, no. And I was like, you should be. I was like, I could build you a tool and we could do it so that you could just put in the forms and it'll extract it all into your spreadsheet, like into a table, so you can copy and paste it in your spreadsheet. And if you want, it'll just write the letter. It's like you're writing the same 5 things every time, right? He's like, yeah. So I was like, okay, do me a favor. When you get back to America, let's sit down on Zoom for like 20 minutes and we'll build that. And we did. We built it. But it started with painful problem of he's spending all day doing boring ass admin shit, right? That's where I would start, not with, we do AI automations. Come higher. That's the surest way to be broke, because nobody woke up saying AI automation. If I wanted to sell that, by the way, to 10,000 other lawyers, which I don't, because we're working on like $10 million shit. So that's like small potatoes to me. But if I wanted to, I would just go like, how much of your day do you spend fucking trying to extract info out of these insurance forms and writing reply letters? Like, we can automate that entire thing for you. AI is barely even part of the pitch, just so you know. But that's what I do. I just pick a who and then do the research on their problems. That's how I start anything. Your book has great Amazon reviews. Are you promoting it in Facebook groups? They've worked really well for my clients and could be a gold mine for your book. Yeah, I got about half dozen ways we promote the book, including paid ads. I don't do a lot more just because it's return on energy. Like we're working on some really big shit right now. So like, the book is obviously a useful tool, and I love how much it's changed lives, but it's not like focus number one for me right now. Sorry, I scrolled. What a blessing for sure. I'm in a similar situation, but with software engineering, given the AI boom. I used to work at Snapchat, got let go. It's been a few years along the way. So sales been sticky now. The Millionaire Fastlane is a solid book, by the way. Yes, I've read that. Yes, sales are sticky. Just so you guys know, I'm not bragging. This is just how it is. But since I've switched to selling through video and Google Docs, I literally have sales 365 days a year. I remember like when I used to work shitty jobs, like the only thing that kept me there was like just knowing you got a paycheck on Friday or whatever. Now I'm in a new paradigm called every day is payday. Like literally every day of my life is payday. Mind you, there's some small ones in there. Like they're not all like, record breaking sales days, but like there's not 24 hours that goes by where I don't make money on at least a few things. And so it's like, I don't know, it just made my life a lot easier. And I don't want to tell you guys this to brag or compare yourself to me. Don't do that. I've been doing this 20 years, but I want to share with you guys what's possible. Like imagine how much easier your life would be is if you literally woke up to new money every single day of your life. I'm just telling you, it doesn't make everything better, but it makes financial life like a lot easier. Currently in my Rocky montage, the struggle is real. Derek, yeah, I mean, dude, it's a struggle before it's not a struggle. Like that's just how it is. And anybody who tells you this is why, by the way, I don't do the whole like 0 to 10K. Anybody could do it. If anybody could do it, nobody would have a job. Am I a believer of doing the free work to get reviews? Yes, but it depends on who you do it for. As I kind of mentioned earlier, like aim it at influencers. Don't just don't use it as a begging people to work with you mechanism, which a lot of people do. Micah deleted a message. I'm assuming that means it was not PG. Fistful of dimes. Would you say the novelty of your offer is the most important part of marketing service sales? So that's a loaded question, but a lot of the stuff that I learned best was reading copywriting books that are sometimes 50 or 100 years old. And you realize when you read them, by the way, that human psychology has not changed in 100 years. In fact, sometimes many of those guys had it harder because they had to convince people to walk to the mailbox, fill out a form, drop a check or money, put it in an envelope, send it, and then wait 8 weeks for the thing to arrive. So like that was like a significant hurdle to making sales, where now you can just get people to click, like Facebook lead forms. They just click a button and their info is already pre-populated. And so one of the things I learned from a lot of the direct mail guys in the 70s, like that was the main vehicle of making sales, was you sent letters in the mail. And they basically came down to understand that 3 things made or break every campaign. 60% of it was the list. In other words, who they sent the letters to. The more they sent it to known buyers, the more sales they made. So like if you got a financial newsletter and you send it to somebody who doesn't invest money and doesn't buy newsletters, you're paddling up shit's creek. But if you send it to somebody who reads 6 financial newsletters and you got a different angle, that you just might become the 7th. 30% was the offer, and then 10% was the messaging. So like, just so you know, nothing's changed in this new world. 60% of your agency success is selling to known buyers, 30% is your offer, and 10% is the messaging and how you package that. So the reason I harp on buyers and make your offer right is because that's 90% of the fucking equation. 25 in the free version, they're talking about Loom. I'm way behind on the chat, just so you guys know. Interesting. You just said to work with people who already have teams, but for my content offer, how would I work with them? Like coaching or talent placement, or would fulfill DFY still work? Well, firstly, you got to make it so your offer doesn't compete with their team. Like I call it an add-on offer, but you want to be complementary to their team and not replace. So for example, because you know, I know you do YouTube stuff. I get pitched video editing. And in my mind, like I have a video editor. I'm happy with him. I don't want to fire him. Mark has been amazing and has been with me from the very beginning of building up this YouTube. So if somebody comes in and says like, we can make you awesome video editing, I don't like that. To me is just noise. And that's what I call a replacement offer. An easy way to tell if you have a replacement offer is if they have to fire somebody to hire you. So in your case, like I think like spin-off offer. So here's like a spin-off offer that like nobody ever pitches me, but I think would be really intelligent, is like, hey, I can take some of your existing videos, turn them into montages, get all new content, and set up a sales funnel on them so you'll make sales. And you don't have to lift a finger. Just give me a thumbs up. Like that's an add-on offer if ever there was an add-on offer. It's like, just give me a thumbs up. I'll take your existing content, spin it off into more content, and I'll help you sell the thing you're trying to sell at the end of it and make sales. And by the way, most people who do YouTube sell all the wrong things. By the way, the wrong things, views, likes, comments, shares. I'm not saying those aren't valuable, but if you gave me a choice between 5 new sales and 600 new views, like I'll take the 5 sales all day, every day. So to me, like that's how I would position it. It's some kind of like, think about how to make it an add-on and not directly compete with their team, and where you can be complementary, and then you'll get your foot in the door a lot faster. I sell my tech help to old people. I do direct to consumer locally, visiting homes, charge $100 for an hour. I have 1 sticky customer, have 6 Google reviews. How can I augment my solution online? It's a little bit of a loaded question, firstly, because Andre, like That's a good business model if your goal is to get to 0 to 10K. It's a bad business model if you want to go past it, because you always have to sell hourly time, and ultimately you're going to run out of time before you'll run out of making money. And like there's also going to be travel time from person to person, so it's not really truly $100 an hour, because even if it's $100 an hour, it probably takes you 30 minutes each way to get there to somebody. And so you're really charging $50 an hour for 2 hours, and you're just getting unpaid travel hours. So like $50 an hour times, 40 hours, you can make like 2K a week, which I think is a good thing. I'm not knocking it. If you want to do it online, you got to figure out a way to make it easy for old people to like jump on a call with you and troubleshoot it. I know that in some cases you may have to get them to install software and things like that to be able to look at their computer. So I don't necessarily have a good answer for that, but like what you have to figure out in there is to make it frictionless for them to be able to just, click a button and talk to you. Micah says, because even if they do have a team, but I know I can do better, it's not like they would fire their team to hire an agency. Exactly. So just don't even offer stuff that you have to fire their team to work with you. Like, I'm big on add-on offers, get you in the door a lot faster than replacement offers. I'm trying to not be physically constrained and have consistent work. Yeah, I mean, the other option is figure out how you can sell something else to those people that isn't like troubleshooting, but like for example, like here's something I used to do back in the day that you might consider doing. Take 27 of the old people that you helped fix some broken shit because they clicked on some sketchy porn links, and say, hey, we're doing an in-person workshop, bring your laptop and we'll teach you guys how to do blank, something that they always ask you about, and now you can get paid by 20 of them at once, and you're not constrained by delivering that. And then if you want to, you can even have like a virtual option for the same thing. But selling one-to-one with hourly time is always going to be a finite business model, just Yo, Frankie, what do you think about real estate brokers? So every niche has pros and cons, and one of the big cons of real estate brokers is it's an easy niche to get into. So like there's tons of people who get their real estate license in a weekend, call themselves a real estate agent, don't sell a home for like, by the way, something like 2/3 of agents don't sell a home in a given year. 0 homes, 0 money collected. So people hear that and they go, oh my God, agents are all bad. But it's like in every niche, you're supposed to work with the top 20%. That's how it is in every niche, every niche. In real estate agents, it's more like the top 5%. So when you say work with brokers, I would only work with broker of records that have people under them, that have like 20 agents who work for them. If you work with those people, it's actually a phenomenal industry. But if you try and like get brokies as clients just because they call themselves an agent, you'll end up broke too. And you'll wonder, like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? So I hear all the time it's a bad niche. It's not, but you're not, you have to aim it at the right segment of the niche. So to me, one of the main functions I do before any marketing campaign is I get a list of qualified prospects and get them into a spreadsheet. That's going to be extra, extra, extra important, that task in that industry. Otherwise, you'll be talking to people who literally cannot afford to pay you, right? If they're making 0, like how much do you think they're going to pay you long term? And there's plenty of reasons why agents make 0. They're lazy. A lot of them, like we're dealing with yacht brokers, which are very, very similar. Some of these motherfuckers don't call me back for 2.5 weeks. Like I'm beating down their door trying to give them money, and they're like, maybe I'll eventually get back to you. That's why they're fucking broke. So just make sure you're working with the movers and shakers. Find the agents who are winning the most and help them win more. And it's a good niche if you do that. I also have 60 on an email list after spending $800 on Facebook ads. I have a quiz qualifier, probably too much friction, reducing leads. I'm sure you can do lots with that 60-person list. I would try to start selling those people, like if it was me, one to many. Like come in for a class and we're going to teach you blah, blah, blah. Or even just like a Q&A. Like even if you charge $20 or $40 or something, or $50, that's less than working with you one-on-one. But you can put 20, 40, 50 of them in a room. And then they could just ask you questions. And it could turn into like something like this, the 2-3 hour session where you're answering questions. Muhammad says, how can I sell websites? I did a video on this, Mohammed. I'll link to you on this, but the way most people sell websites is hold on a sec. Let me just grab the link for you. There we go. You're going to see stuff, by the way, in that video that you haven't heard before, which is part of the secret, is that the way most people sell websites is to try and convince people who for 30 years have never bought a website, like why today is the day. And I show you how to sell what I call add-on websites, which is a lot easier. How did you break the limiting belief of going online, having your face online, knowing there will always be trolls and crap? I don't know. I just don't give a shit anymore. I really don't. Limiting belief of going online. Even still, like, just so you know, in our world, you don't get really famous. You get niche famous, which is a different thing. So real fame is like, I was watching Eminem and he was talking about in an interview. He said he was in a Hollywood restaurant and he said he was taking a shit and a hand came up under the stall and said, "Hey, Eminem, I know it's a bad time, but can you give me an autograph?" That's fame you can't turn off. That's like you're so out there that you can't shut it off. The opposite of that to me is niche fame. Niche fame is when I go to conferences in my industry, people are like, "I know you." As soon as I leave the room, I walk away 2 blocks, I'm not famous again. So to me, like that's all that ever really happens with our kind of stuff. And as far as the trolls and stuff, it's like you never get criticized from anybody who's doing more than you. Like I used to have a guy in my videos before I blocked him. In my early videos, I would like just grab my phone and start talking about ideas near the beach. And he'd be like, "You should enjoy your fucking vacation and stop fucking like trying to make videos when you're with your family." And what he doesn't know is like I live there year round, right? Like this ain't a vacation. This is a normal fucking Tuesday for me. For me, we sat 3 hours at the beach and I said, "Hold on, guys. I'm going to shoot some videos. I'll be back in 20 minutes." And then we go do more beach stuff. Like that was how the day went for me, you know? It's like this guy knows it all. And so I'm like, I don't know. I just don't take any of that seriously. I'm way behind on this chat. Just so you guys know. I'm 29 and I've had to become a restaurant server several times a few seasons, but I'm trying to get to the everyday is sales day for sure. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with like you got to do what you got to do to get it off the ground. It took me, just so you guys know, realistically, it took me 4 years to make real money to the point where I was actually like, "Ooh, this is like I would never go back to a job now." So like 4 years is 1,400 days. Like it can be done faster. Like now, knowing what I know now, I could do it in like 2 weeks. But having said that, it's like, it takes time to get there. And like, there's a lot of tough learning lessons along the way. So like the worst thing you do is just constantly change directions and or give up. So like, just put your head down and plug away at it and you will get there. Can I drop a couple of my offer doc pages? Yeah, I've been meaning to update this anyway, but I mostly my documents today are mostly for courses. I don't typically sell agency services through docs, although just so you guys know, the Loom methodology and the Google Doc methodology are the same thing, just in different media. They're not like different, like just it's the same format, the same sales layout. It's just one is text and one is video. But I'll just put GDoc offers. I wouldn't want to drive off a cliff. Me neither. Do you handle all your own taxes and stuff? I guess starting out, that stuff is intimidating. I have help on that. The Adweek copywriting book is solid, but I try not to give taxes and accounting advice because it's like we have people in different countries in the world. There's different laws, different rules, and I don't even consider myself any good at it. I just know how to invest money to like tax shelter it. That's if you guys ever wanted to discuss that, I'll tell you what I do. But it is, again, it's not financial advice. I ain't telling you what you should do. I'm just going to tell you what I do, which is different. Would you support the direct mail move nowadays? Seems like USPS has a solid ad platform. I mean, yeah, I'm one of the few guys who sends a lot of direct mail. On all our real estate stuff, we send direct mail, like religiously. I use a service called Click2Mail, the number 2, click2mail.com, and they allow us to mass personalize letters. So I can send like 100. So I upload one letter and one list, and then I say, put in every single person's first name in this letter, and it'll go, dear Dave, dear Derek, dear Joe, and I go put in their address here, and it'll go, interested in your property 123 ABC Street, interested in your property 127 ABC Street. It'll mass personalize it. And Click2Mail, in my experience, is not even more expensive than sending the letters yourself. And you can send just one if you want. You can send 1 or 10,000. It makes no difference. So, yes, I do a lot of direct mail. I'm a big believer in direct mail, especially because you're zigging when everyone else is zagging. Nobody gets personalized letters, and that's why they work. And by the way, we used to send personalized letters, and then they'd have a QR code in a website, and it would drive them to a Loom video. So, like that's one of the things we've done historically. Do you ever run ads to a landing page with your video that you send? Yes, all the time, Justin. So typically, in the beginning, I don't send it to a landing page, and I'll tell you why. Because usually, like, just being real with you guys, it's very unlikely that version 1.0 of your sales video will crush it. What's more than likely is it'll assist, it'll move people closer to the sale, but they will have questions and or like some resistance to it. And so the reason I send those one-to-one is because I want to ask them, like, hey, what do you think? And I want to get real feedback. Well, I wasn't really sold on this part. And once I know it works, though, then I put it on a page and just drive ads to it. And like forever and ever till the end of time, I just automate sales that way. But typically it's not usually step one. But yeah, we got plenty of landing pages with our offers on them. And historically, we've had lots of those. I had that question as well, Justin. Facebook ads, landing page with Loom video, buy button underneath, checkout, onboarding page. Yeah, same answer, Derek. So that service, I'd like to do one-to-many eventually. I'm totally trying to remove my time eventually. Thanks again. Just so you know, like the easiest way for you to start selling that is just offer more to the people who've already had the $100 session. Just say, hey, we're putting together a workshop to do blank. Would you be interested? You don't even have to put on the workshop. Just ask them if they'd be interested. And if there's enough people interested in it, build it. And if there aren't, you just don't. Like, you don't have to waste your time. That way you don't like put on an event that you're not going to sell. Colin says, Frankie, as someone who's been in the game for some time now, is there anything you're seeing right now that surprises you the more people aren't jumping on right now? I'll tell you the thing that surprised me the most, Colin, is I don't understand why more marketers don't have email lists. Like, I try to like even give them email lists, but everybody's trying to go from cold to sold in one single fucking leap and bound. And you can do it, but like you just make your life harder. Like to me, like, yeah, if you meet a girl on the street and say, let's go home and sleep together or let's go get married, it can be done, but like, holy shit, your batting averages are going to be obscenely low. If you text her and do some follow-up and have a little bit of a conversation and then go on some dates, that's a way more predictable way of getting there. Right. So like, I don't know if that's the right answer, but I'm surprised that how few marketers have email lists. Like, it still bothers me every day of my life. You mentioned a bit that gave 4 paths and one was about webinars. Is that still available? I'm going to do that as a free training. I'm going to like lay out like step-by-step how to do each of those things. I just basically have to build the demonstrations. I'm going to, just like I talk about with Loom videos, I'm going to make it super visual so people can understand the steps. And then I'm going to just walk you through, like, here's a bunch of ways you can get clients that don't involve spamming strangers. Frankie, I've been posting my hand raisers on LinkedIn, and my posts only reach like 5 to 10 accounts out of my 300 plus connections. I've had no response. Don't know if the hand raiser is not or LinkedIn suck. If it's an algorithm and reach thing where like nobody's seeing it and like your reach is limited, I would start like fixing that before I would change the hand raiser. Because it's hard to know for sure if nobody's seeing it, right? So like, and sometimes you deal with this shit where, algorithms can just be fucky. If you want, you can post your hand raiser in the chat and I can tell you more. M&M example was solid. I've never heard this framing so solid. Yeah, it's just a little bit of my experience. I don't even know if it's framing. It just, I'm mildly internet famous now, but it's not like 1% of my life is being famous and having trolls, and 99% of my life is being unknown, eating at a restaurant or whatever, and I'm just another customer there. If I'm running ads to run SEO for local businesses, would you recommend a landing page or Facebook form to convert into a sales call? See, this is one of those things where I think like a lot of times people ask the wrong question. This is me asking the wrong question. Landing page or Facebook form. But the answer to that is both of those work. But to me, like, what are you actually offering people on the page? Like, if you think more about that detail and less about where you're going to put it, part of the reason like I can sell stuff in a Google document is because I think massively about like how can I make this offer so easy for somebody to say yes to, and then it's like, you know, put it on a page, put it in a Google Doc. It barely even matters by the time you figured out how to make the offer awesome. So I figured that out first. But having said that, you know, if it was me, I'd probably do a landing page first. So would a coaching offer work well so you don't have to replace their team, but you can still fix their leaks, train the team, and give them more direction on the content? That's Micah. It could. Like, obviously, I wouldn't position it as coaching. It'd be more like you're losing money here, here, and here. And if you want, I can come in and usually, like for me, step one is I'll give you some information about it. And then two is, would you like my help implementing it? I wouldn't give them their full channel. I would just show them like 5 or 10 videos, like here, here, and here. And these are only 5 of the 10 videos I looked at. You got, 500 more on your channel. If you want, I can go through them all. But yeah, Justin says, thanks, Top G. If you don't sell agency services and GDoc offers, you just use Loom and in the DMs. Yeah, more or less. Not always DMs either. Like I get people who contact me. So I do a lot of things to create inbound. So, running ads, posting stuff in shoe stores, content. And then when people reach out to me, then I close them. So if they email me, then we close them over email. If they text me, which is rare, but it happens sometimes, we close them over text. Sometimes I get stuff from Facebook Messenger, we close it there. I get shit on Instagram, we turn those into sales conversations. So that's basically like I just keep it congruent with, I assume however they're reaching me is the easiest way for them, and I just stay there. But the methodology is, here's the video. If you want to take the next step, let me know. Click to mail. Check it out. Thanks, Frankie. Yeah. What's the best way to build an email list in a niche? Gatekeep the video with the name email form. I think the best way to build an email list is to do a webinar. And the best thing you should put on a webinar is do a free training giving away 100% of how to do the thing you. So like, let's say you do SEO for plumbers, right? Because I was kind of harping on that earlier. I would make a webinar that teaches plumbers how to get business from Google for free, 100% for free. And they just have to register to watch the webinar, knowing that 99% of them aren't going to want to implement those ideas. And they're just going to come to me and go, can you just do that for me? So if you can focus, like give away the ideas for free, knowing that they're going to want your help with implementing it. I think that's the easiest way to get an email list. It's just like, hey, we're doing a free training, walking you through how you can do this awesome thing all on your own. And most of them won't want to do it on their own, just especially if they're local business. Like they didn't become a dentist so that they can like manage Instagram campaigns. But I'm going to go into more detail on that when I go into the free training. But basically, you give away something of value in step one that gets them to give you their email. Ideally, something automated that you only have to make once and can be, on a schedule, automatically given away, and then email and drip campaign. And it's the dating equivalent of like you're automating the first date, the second date, the third date, the fourth date, so that by the time they're ready for a serious relationship, that's the point at which you actually start talking to them. Let me see where I'm at in chat. Solid workshop idea. Tried that. Ran ads to a workshop. Got 60 interested on a Facebook event, but no one showed up. Yeah, there's a lot of that goes into getting people to show up. Like you very rarely can you just register and they'll show up. You often have to remind them 17 times. But also those are cold strangers. I wouldn't try and, in your case, do cold strangers. I would try and get the people who've already given you $100 because they're willing to spend $100. Like the 60 interested have not proven that they're willing to invest money in what you showed them. Anybody who's paid you so far has proven they will give you money. So like I would sell more to those people first, and then you can run ads saying, hey, if you need help with your computer shit, it's $100 an hour, knowing that you got 17 other things to sell them after the fact. Mitch says, sup, Frankie, the Irish guy, what up? Is struggling to make payroll a good call out for targeting? Like, even though it's targeting businesses with teams, they might not have the budget to grow. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a real issue. Just be careful how hard you hit on the struggling. That particular word. If you just mention that payroll is really, really expensive and that's why you need to do something about it, that's just true. But if you do struggling, like I can barely pay my bills, you might not necessarily attract somebody who can afford shit. So, like, you can talk about how much payroll sucks and how much it eats into their margins. That's just a fact. Do you recommend call outs, hand raisers to be more focused around saving time and headaches instead? Depends who you're selling to and what, but generally speaking, if you want to sell to people with money, then talk about time and headaches eliminated, and specifically get specific about where time and headaches. So the unspecific is like, do you want to save some time? Specific is like I mentioned the lawyer example earlier, like how much of your day is spent going through forms from Allstate, State Farm, and Geico and trying to extract info just so you can write a demand letter. What if I could just eliminate that with one simple little AI tool, right? That's specific about where the time and headaches are going. So you want to just be specific. Specificity prints cash. But yeah, for sure. If you want to track people with money in general, talk about time and energy and headaches and things like that, for sure. After you do market research through cold calls, what are the next step you take to then sell the solution? Well, firstly, I float the idea out there as a hand raiser, like, hey, if I could do blank and make and do this, would you be interested in that? Because if they won't tell you they're interested in that, they won't buy it either. So I always like validate, if I could do that thing for you, would you be interested? So that to me is the immediate next step. And then if so, then you build a buyer's list of known people who spend money on that, and you go put shit in front of them like proactively. But you do so knowing that like they want it. Like the market research thing sounds like a small detail, but I'll give you an example of this. Where I live in Mexico, there's like tacos everywhere you fucking look. You can get tacos. Like I can barely drive 3 blocks without coming across tacos somewhere. So if you start a new restaurant and it's tacos, you're gonna fucking struggle because you got 1,000 competitors. They're selling it cheap. You got to steal business from other people. Like, it's just gonna be hard no matter how you splice it. There was a guy in my local area in La Paz, which I'm in Miami right now, but he sold Indian food, and he eventually moved away. And he was like literally the only guy, and he only did it once a week as like a catering thing. And so I'm part of a local Facebook community, and people periodically ask, "Hey, is there anywhere that has good Indian food?" And the answer is no. Can't get good Indian food where I live. So there's a real market need for Indian food. If you're going to start a restaurant and you don't do the market research, you just start a taco place because you know how to make tacos, your business is going to be hard every day of your life. You'll never be able to charge much money. People look at you as a dime a dozen. Oh, you're one of those. Sell Indian food. In his case, he was charging like first world prices in a not first world country and getting it and having a waiting list. And fundamentally, the deliverable is still a restaurant. Like, it's not that different. So like what you do with the market research is you figure out, do people really want an Indian restaurant? If they say yes, then you build it. And a lot of it is this because our tools are adaptable. You can make a website to sell just about anything, right? So what you need to figure out is who are they trying to sell with that website or with that Google ads or whatever it is you do, right? And once you make your thing serve their needs, hey, we really want Indian food. Okay, then let's make an Indian website or an Indian restaurant website. Your shit will work way better, even though it's like not fundamentally that different. What's your process with content right now, from ideas to scripts to filming? What you do versus your team, like when you know how to include cutscenes beforehand and all that is kind of like this. So mostly like what I do is I have a feedback loop. So people ask me questions. So I just look at what's showing up in the questions, and then I sketch out topic ideas just based on like literally what people are asking me. Then I map out like the bullet points of like, well, here's the 4 to 5 things that matter in that. And then what I do is then I add in the humor elements. So I have my own GPT for sketching out the intros, like my stupid, goofy intros. So I like Uh, I tell my GPT go full nuclear with like retarded humor, and I spend 10 minutes creating the intros, and then with cutscenes, I have a whole library of cutscenes, so I just like find 4 or 5 for each video that they're actually pretty generic, even though they look like they're specific. So, like for example, I have a Maury Povich one where the guy's really happy because he got told he's not the father of the baby. I told you, Maury, he ain't even look like me. She a hoe, Maury. She a hoe. But it's essentially representing a guy being happy, right? So I can use that for anything like, hey, if you do this thing, you'll be happy, this happy. And then I go to the cutscene. But really, I could use any cutscene that represents happy in there. So it's like, I don't like, I don't say at exactly this point. So like most of my videos are just sketched out to that. And then I batch record them. Like 2-3 hours, usually once a month. I'll just batch record a bunch of videos, set it up, film them, and then we have a what I call my content factory. I upload them to my team. Mark does editing and chopping based on our things. We have a library of like here's these are our processes, and then we have like a thumbnail creator, and then Karen from my team uploads and posts them. Like that's basically it. Is a webinar different from the video you use to sell your service? Yes. So this is an important thing. Like everybody asks me about closing and Loom videos, and it's a very important thing, and I love it, and I would never not like want to keep it from you guys. But to me, what happens before the video is just important. If you really want to maximize conversions, you get people to buy into your plan. So what I mean by that is we got a guy, for example, in our mastermind. He sells Google reviews to HVAC contractor. He's got like a GHL automation, right? So what most people don't understand is only 10% of the sale is use me as your Google review provider. Use me is only ever 10% of the sale. 90% of the sale is you should be doing this at all. You should be getting Google reviews, and here's why. So if he does a webinar, his webinar is on here's why you need to be getting Google reviews. And it lays out like an argument for why these things matter, why customers look at them, why it's the first credibility factor, and why investing in your reputation is one of the smartest things you ever do. That's 90% of the sale. If they get to the end of that video, he says, and if you're interested in getting help, we got a little video that'll walk you through how to get those Google reviews. If he just sends that video without getting them to buy into they need Google reviews in the first place, it'll convert, but it'll convert way lower as a general rule. And they'll have to make up for it with volume, which with video, you can still do a lot of volume because you're not giving one-to-one pitches. But if he does a webinar and says, here's all the reasons why you need Google reviews and gives lots of proof and examples, and then says, hey, we built a tool that'll help make it easy for you to get them, that will convert that second video simply because they're bought into the idea. So most people don't realize 90% of the sale is you should be doing this at all. So if you sell SEO, 90% of the sale is you should be ranking in Google. If you do Facebook ads, 90% of the sale is you should be running ads. If you do AI automation, 90% of the sale is like you should be automating shit. And here's why. And that's just content. There's no sale, there's no price tag. It's just a free training. And then 10% is like, okay, if you want some help on that, we got a thing. Check out our little 5-minute video, and it'll show you how much it costs to get our help. But that's how I like to do it. And mind you, there's more than one way to convert prospects, so I'm just giving you what's worked for us. Have any good resources on selling AI voice? If you do, yes. So mostly, by the way, this is kind of a loaded question because most businesses are not at the point where A, they understand why they need AI voice, B, what it does, C, like why it's better. So most people are skipping 20 steps ahead of them and going, we got an AI voice solution, AI receptionist for just $4.97 a month. And we're hitting them with the problem. And there's a couple of problems that AI solves, okay? So you have to hit them with a couple of these. And so we're doing a couple of different ones. One of those is spam calls. That's the biggest thing they're buying. It's like they don't even want to pick up their phone because it's Angie's List again. It's somebody looking for a job. It's another fucking robocall. So we're like, hey, what if you never had to deal with those spam calls again? Right? Problem aware. That's where they're at. Evenings and weekends. Hey, you guys do a great job answering your phone, but like, what do you do on Saturday when somebody calls? You just like lose the business? Missing calls. A lot of times they think they're good at answering the phone. So we're doing something that's kind of sneaky, selling AI voice. So we use GHL and we load up a list of them and we do what's called a ringless voicemail. And we call them and say, hey, like you just missed a call. This could have been a real job. And like I know why you didn't because it's probably just a spam call. But what if Samantha, our AI voice agent, could handle it? And then it's leading into a demonstration of like, you probably think she sounds like a robot. Why don't you try calling her yourself? Or why don't you try listening to how she sounds in this little 5-minute video? That's generally how we're selling it. Okay. Roxy says, we help practices attract people actively wanting straighter teeth, not bargain hunters, looking for 2 bronze providers who want to become gold. That's my hand raiser. So part of like a couple of things, okay? So that hand raiser, just by starting with the word we, is about you. And always it should be about the dentist. So to me, like, dentist, who's looking for patients who want straighter teeth instead of bargain hunters? Like that's basically the gist of your hand raiser. And make it about them. And what you're essentially testing is, do they want straighter teeth people? And they may or they may not. You don't know until you put it in front of them. But you're trying to like kind of like lead them. You're too many steps ahead of them where you're already trying to sort of sell your service in the first message. Um, they don't care that you help people to do this kind of thing, and they don't care that you're looking for 2 people. So like to me, like just start with who wants some straighter teeth people. Dentist, who wants people with straighter teeth instead of the usual bargain hunters. And you can be more specific about what a bargain hunter is. Like what do they typically call them looking for a bargain on? If they're looking for like, hey, we just want a cheap little checkup for $100. I don't know what a bargain hunter actually is in the dental industry. But if you're specific about that, that'll make it more believable. But that's what I would tweak. And then if it doesn't work, just change, like, instead of the straighter teeth person, like who else could you bring them? If you're not sure, like market research bot. Andre says, thanks for your time today. Yeah, you guys got it. Hey, Frankie, currently implementing the shoe store, reaching out to the head of events at the ACA HVAC niche. She's not really publishing articles, trying to find another angle to do her work. Well, they're doing something, right? So like I go on their website and like, what are they? Whether they're publishing articles or content or videos or podcast or running live events, they're doing something. So like what I first do is figure out where's all the work that they're doing already. So like in the case of water damage restoration, when I went to one of the industry associations and I clicked around their website for 5 minutes, they had 5-minute ask the expert interviews. And I noticed they were a few weeks behind on it because they're publishing massive amounts of shit. And the reason is like they probably just didn't know what to say and they had other things focused. So I just said, hey, you've been falling a little behind on those Ask the Expert interviews. I got one awesome for you guys. Let's do a little 5-minute interview about this. In my case, it was like AI related. But I'm doing their work because they need to publish their AI thing. So don't try and like, hey, we should publish articles if they don't have articles to publish. Look at what they're already doing and then see how you can make your stuff fit into theirs. And no, you're not necessarily aiming too high. I'm like, this is going to sound harsh when I say it. And I for those of you who are female listeners, I say this with love. So like, it's like, fuck the prom queen on day one. Don't be like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm going to date 6 crackheads and I'll work with smaller people. And I'm not ready to work with the real pros in my industry. No, whether they're big or small, they got problems and they need help and you can help them. So like, go right after the biggest people in your industry on day one. Shoot some big shots. One of the hardest part of that is mentally, like people just don't feel ready, but you're ready when you say you're ready. And that's one of the hardest parts about entrepreneurship is like in life and business, this poor and middle class mindset will tell you, like, if you want to become a lawyer, 7 years of school. I went to school to be an engineer. I never finished it, but you got to go to school 4 years and you got to work under a professional engineer for 4 years. So it's 8 years before you can call yourself professional engineer. Most of like the job world is set up that way. If you want to be a professional, someone else tells you when you're ready. In our world, the only qualification is if you know how to help somebody. So if you actually know how to help somebody, you're uniquely qualified already and you should go do it. I met Maury and got him to say in a video call, and you are not the father. Dude, I hope that is a true story because that was fucking awesome. I grew up on trashy daytime So where do you host a webinar? Wherever you want. So Zoom is like probably the easiest, most straightforward way. Um, you can also do it like you're seeing now, YouTube Live, Facebook Live. They all work. Like make sure like it's most important thing is make sure the angle and information is relevant to the people. Don't worry so much about the where, like whether you make them go to, because if you have like a shitty, like I don't know, like imagine you have a shitty restaurant that serves day old donuts or something like that that aren't any good to begin with. You could have a great location and eventually the word's going to get out that you suck. Flip side of that is, I've gone to places that are like back roads hidden just because it's that fucking good. Diners, drive-ins, and dives. Like so, if you make the content of the webinar good enough that it's like must see television for them, they'll pretty much follow you anywhere. And then I would just go to wherever's easiest, probably Zoom. I'll tell you. The big niches always have the gatekeepers, which never transfer you to the business owner or throw excuses at you. How do you access these higher ticket niche owners? I mean, you got to do the research and get their info directly. But this is why I'm big on attract them. Don't one-to-one message them anyway, because if I attract them, I don't worry about the gatekeepers anyway. But there's a lot we could talk for 3 days about creative things to do to get around gatekeepers. But I would just say like bring them to you so you don't even have to worry about the gatekeepers. This is why I publish stuff in shoe stores and run ads. Like I bring them to me. I don't worry about no fucking gatekeeper. In fact, the only time I've ever done a call in the last 10 years where a gatekeeper was involved, it sounds like this. I get the gatekeeper. I say, hey, Jen, this is Frankie from such and such. Colin is expecting my call. Can you just let him know I'm here? That's it. Yes, true story. I get tons of celebs. Wow, that's cool. So ads is the only way? No, that's why I'm doing a free training. There's like it's a dozen and a half ways you can get clients that aren't running ads and aren't cold DMing people. People like there's a lot of ways to market a fucking business, and most people know like two and think that's the whole fucking entire system, and it's not. Just so you guys know. I just want to check real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything from our document. Mark says, according to Frankie Finn illustrations, that if you want water restoration jobs, you position yourself for water restoration. That means if I did SEO bidding on water restoration keywords, optimizing my profile for it, using photos of it, talking about it on my website, creating landing pages about it. So if I do a website agency, how should I position myself? The worst positioning is I make tools in any industry. I make websites, I do SEO, I do pay-per-click, I do Facebook ads. The best positioning is like, I can help you get this outcome. So if you think about it, a website is a tool. So like what outcome? I can help you sell blank. What goes in that blank that matters to your target prospect? So if I was talking to a plumber, like I know, for example, plumbers really like new construction because they're bigger repeat jobs that they don't get covered in shit. I wouldn't say I'm a web designer. Do you want to buy a website? I'd say, hey, we figured out how to get new construction jobs by having a really good website that focuses on new construction and selling yourself as the new construction guy. Would you be interested in that? The website is the smallest, least important detail in there. So it's like whatever you position it's always around an outcome. Like you have to find what the meaningful outcome is for your client. I got two from Norris. Norris says, has anyone done database reactivation for hotels? How did it go? Also says, not sure how much I should be paying a white label SEO agency. Can you guys help me figure out how to price that stuff? One, has anyone done database reactivation for hotels? Yes. It's a little bit hit and miss because sometimes with hotels, a lot of their past clients are people who came one time on vacation and are not in the area, but they also get a lot of local clientele, people who live 2-3 hours away, drove away for a weekend. You can win those people back. So it depends a little bit on the hotel. If they're at like an island destination where people would only fly in, it'd be hard to do it on a database reactivation. But if they're, if they get at least some semblance of local business, it'll more than likely work. And as far as how much should you be paying a white label agency, I'll make it as simple as possible. Like Find out what they're charging and 2 to 3x their pricing. So if they'll charge you $1,000 for a website, go sell it for 2 to 3,000, somewhere in that range. But having said that, truthfully, there is no upper limit. Like if you can go sell a website for $100,000 and your white label partner wants $1,500 to build it, there ain't nothing stopping you from keeping 98,500. And if you can ethically, legally do that. So there's no have to, but at the same time, at least make sure there's some margin for you. Like at a bare minimum, I would double whatever price they're going to charge you. When is it? I'm in need. Haha. Truthfully, it's like whenever I finish it. I'm traveling a bunch right now, so I'm kind of working on it in between. What I'm trying to do is just like my Loom videos, I'm going to make it like super visual so that like it's really easy to understand step by step. But having said that, I don't know. Like I'm working on it a little here, a little there, so it'll get done when it gets done. It's a little hard to do it. Like last time I was planning on working on it a little bit at my airport stop, and then my first flight was delayed a little bit. Not a lot, but that made my connection super tight, and I had to run from one gate to the other. So instead of having 20, 30 minutes to work on it, instead I just was running across the airport with a fucking heavy ass backpack, huffing and puffing like the fucking tired old man I was. But it'll be launched over the next couple of weeks. I'll make sure to let you guys know. Planning on starting a solution agency soon, but want to do it right. Yeah, I mean, doing it right to me is picking a niche and finding their problems. That's always the right way to start. The wrong way is going, I got this tool. How do I make money with my tool? When is the training, bro? I don't know. I'll announce it when it's done, when I have it done. Yeah, Loom is the way to go. Lots of people learn a lot more visually. Yeah, exactly. I want to make it super visual so do this, do that, do that. That's how it actually works. You got it. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, all right, I'm going to go bounce here. I got some in-person stuff to do here in Miami. About to go schmooze a little. We're going to have a big old networking dinner with my man, Lynn Askin. There's 20 other really smart business owners there. And plus, like, who doesn't like a free steak dinner at a very fancy place? Although it's kind of far. I got to go like an hour to where I'm going, but whatever. Free stuff demands that I go an hour. I will be the guinea pig who does it. So anyways, I appreciate you guys coming in here and doing this. I'll let you guys know when that free training's ready. It won't be probably a few weeks, but it'll be, I'm working on it sooner than later. I see the need for it where everybody says you have to do cold outreach and you don't. And I actually think it's the least efficient way anyway, is like if you just cold DM strangers in the same way everybody else is doing, it's like literally the hardest way to drum up business. And it's getting harder by the day because more and more people are doing it. There's more and more AI automation automating it badly. And so like there's just a lot of shit in people's inboxes, and like knowing how to get people to come to you, I think is ultimately a more valuable skill anyway. Like if you got a local dentist, you wouldn't tell him to like cold DM everybody in town. You'd say run ads and attract people, or do SEO and attract people. I think it's the same thing like with running an agency, is that like the best agencies attract people, not pound the pavement trying to do door-to-door sales. What event am I at? My man Josh Nelson's, although I'm not really going to the event. I'm mostly just meeting up with people after the fact. I'm like strategic networking. I can do. When I network, just so you guys know, I like basically hang out with the shoe stores, like the who's who of the industry. So I do a whole lot less in general. So I don't have to like spend all day like taking notes and shit like that. I just go, who are the movers and shakers? Let's all get them together. In this case, it was already they're getting together without me. I just had to invite myself in, and like that's part of it. But appreciate you guys. I'm gonna bounce here, and that's all I got for you guys on this Monday. Much love. May the Triforce be with you. Go Rocket, guys. Appreciate you.